The Panthers' inability to score on the power play had them going from controlling the game to chasing the game, and it cost them a point.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Wednesday, October 29th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. That is Jacob Winans joining me on another edition of Winans Wednesday. You can follow him on X at JakeW_8. Shout out to the everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. You can do that all on Game Time. So the Florida Panthers in Game 3 of 4 were without Brad Marchand and Jonah Gadjevich in this one. Another insult to injury, literally, for the Panthers, as the Anaheim Ducks came into Sunrise on the final game of their 5-game road trip, while the Panthers were in Game 3 of 4 on the homestand, and the Panthers went from controlling play to chasing the game. And after 2 special teams goals by the Anaheim Ducks just minutes apart, the Panthers had a hard time controlling the play again for the rest of the second period, but the Panthers turned it on in the third period with goals by Anton Lundell and Sam Reinhart with the extra attacker after the Anaheim Ducks iced the puck. Forced overtime, the Panthers did have a chance to win the game while getting on the power play with 2:06 left, and their inability to score forced it into a shootout, and then Lukas Dostal came up big for the Anaheim Ducks to get the extra point for Anaheim, while the Florida Panthers end up with only 1 on this night. But, Jacob, the takeaway for me in this one was the Florida Panthers' inability to score on the power play, as it was a major parade to the box in the second period, especially for both teams. I mean, 3 power play opportunities for the Panthers, and then the shorthanded goal that Leo Carlson scored really shifted the momentum of this game. And to think that the Panthers were getting the pucks deep and getting in transition. I mean, there was a 2-on-1 play from Sam Reinhart to Anton Lundell that was a great chance. And the fact that the Panthers were first to the boards, and then the multiple times of them trying to shoot pucks off of Dostal's back, but him closing in on the net. And then the first 2 shots on the game for the Panthers were wraparound opportunities, as they were the Anaheim Ducks were not closing the gaps, but a whole bunch of missed opportunities for the Panthers. And this was a chance for the Panthers to truly put the game away early, but that stretch really shifted everything for the Cats.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate result because that was a very winnable game. They really controlled play for huge stretches of this one, dominated the most of the first period, dominated the first half of the second period. And it's just kind of become a theme here early in the season. The play is there most of the time. The effort is there most of the time. The goaltending even is there most of the time. We've only had one really bad goaltending game, and that was the Pittsburgh game, and you're not going to see many of those from Bob. I feel horrible for Tarasov because he's played great hockey to start the season. It's just kind of becoming a repetitive theme here that they control the play, and then there's just a critical breakdown, a critical mistake, and ends up in the back of their net, and they just don't have the bodies right now. They don't have the horses to come back when you have some of those breakdowns. They did a great job to fight back and get to OT and get a point out of this one. That was the least of what they deserved in this game. I thought they played a really, really strong game for most of it. Probably deserved a better outcome. So kudos to the team for at least taking a point from it, especially after some really, really horrible officiating in the third period. But special teams continues to let them down right now. And they're not finishing at 5-on-5. There's just too many guys out, too much offensive talent not on the ice right now. And when you're struggling like that to put pucks in the back of the net and your special teams isn't clicking, you really can't afford to have any mistakes. And they had a couple tonight that really killed them.
No doubt. And the officiating that Jacob's talking about is the trip that Sam Bennett drew early on in the third period that went uncalled, and then he was called for a boarding call later on Drew Hellison that sent the Panthers to the box. But that was when the Panthers were down 2-1 when Sam Bennett went to the box. But it ended up not costing the Panthers as they were able to force overtime as Paul Maurice, great coaching from Paul Maurice, pulling Daniil Tarasov and getting the extra attacker after they iced the puck, and then Seth Jones, that point shot that redirected off of Sam Reinhart, who was parked in front of the net. But I mean, once again, the Panthers, especially with the rare odd man rush opportunities for the Anaheim Ducks, I mean, it was just outstanding active sticks for the Panthers, getting in on their back check, taking away the passing lanes, and really for the Panthers, and also getting some scoring opportunities, fighting off checks. There was one where Jesper Boquist was getting out of the box, and it also had a scoring opportunity. Same thing with Aaron Ekblad. Even though he didn't get an assist, that Anton Lundell goal, that goal does not happen without Aaron Ekblad fighting off that check, getting that puck deep, and then those one-touch passes from Etu to Mackie Semiskevich, and then just a quick handle, draws the defense, and then Anton Lundell is all alone on Lukas Dostal. That was the start of something for the Panthers that was like, okay, gain a little bit of confidence, but even a little bit of a lull for the Panthers that they went without controlling play, because after the 5-on-3 goal by the Anaheim Ducks from Cutter Gauthier, the Panthers only got one shot on goal the rest of the period after that. So it was just all the air sucked out of the balloon. And to think that the turnaround from being stuck at one shot after that, it was around like 19 or 20 shots that the Panthers were stuck on for the remainder of that second period. And to think that second goal from the Anaheim Ducks came with 7 minutes left. Crazy to think how it just shifted from there.
Yeah, it was it's become sort of the talking point with this year's Panthers. It's the way the game kind of turns on a dime with one either mistake or one spark seems to flip the entire trajectory of a Panthers game right now. And it's not what we're really used to seeing for a Paul Maurice team. You're used to seeing consistency, and even when they don't get the results and they lose some games here and there, the style of play and the attention to detail is usually always there. They don't always get the bounces. They don't always get the breaks. Sometimes they get goalied. Sometimes there are cold streaks offensively, and they don't cheat the game. They stick to their defensive systems, and you understand that's what that comes with at times. But right now, it just seems like they don't have the ability to make up for some of those errors that end up in the back of their net. And when they have a mistake, or when they have a couple of minutes where they break down or get away from their game, it's very, very hard for them right now to make it back up. And I think that's kind of how it went tonight. The way they were playing the first half of this game, really almost an exact half of the game, the first 30 minutes.
Around 32, 33.
Just over 30 minutes was tremendous hockey. And you have to find a way to get a goal when you're playing that way. It's unfortunate that they hadn't scored when they looked as good as they looked for the first half of that game. But we all know the situation. There's no Barkov, there's no Tkachuk tonight. There was no Marchand. There's a lot of offensive talent not in the lineup. You're not always going to have the finish. You could play 30 to 35 minutes of great hockey and still be at zeros, just because some of your best offensive talent is not on the ice. It's tougher to put pucks in the net. That's when you have to fall lean on the consistency. And tonight they had a drop off for just a few minutes, and it ends up costing them.
Yeah, and sometimes this happens in little bit of frames in the game. Like, for example, the Panthers go on the man advantage again just seconds after the Anaheim Ducks kill the penalty with the fourth line, forcing the puck into the zone, and then also getting in on their forecheck, which that was a penalty that Jesper Boquist drew. And then even before Cutter Gauthier scored on the 5-on-3, Daniil Tarasov made an outstanding save there on his side, and then Lundell sweeps it out. It's just when you have that advantage, it's a little harder to stop the puck, obviously. But the Panthers did have a chance even with that. And another poor call for the Panthers there, where Nico Mikkola was called for that interference call. The call on Verhaeghe, that was the right call, but just a little collision. That was one that I might have let go if I'm the official there, as he was trying to be off the puck on as the Panthers gained the zone there. But the Panthers still, after all that, they were able to find a way to tie the game late in the third period. And unfortunately, Lukas Dostal, he's great. He's their number one for a reason. That he found a way to stop it the pucks when it mattered most. But and also one thing with the power play goal, with the shorthanded goal, excuse me, from the Ducks, that has to do a little bit with the personnel that was on the ice for the Panthers on the power play. So we will actually discuss that next, as we are going to discuss our 3 duds of the game in the moment where we knew the game was lost. We'll discuss that more next year on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. And that hockey season is here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate hack for scoring amazing tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Their zone deals are game changers. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seat, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDON NHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Segment number 2 here on this Wednesday, October 29th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. Here on a Wednesday, Armando Velez with Jacob Winans on another edition of Winans Wednesday, as the Florida Panthers lose to the Anaheim Ducks by a final score of 3-2 in a shootout, where the Florida Panthers had an opportunity to put the Ducks away early with controlling play. But once again, just a few breakdowns and some quick spurts for the Anaheim Ducks got them ahead, and the Panthers were chasing the game. So it is a loss for the Panthers, which means this is the part of the podcast where we discuss our 3 duds of the game and the moment where we knew the game was lost in the case of a loss for the Florida Panthers. And I'll start with this. So number 3 dud for the Panthers, I'm going to go with Sam Bennett. I feel that he could have controlled play a little bit more. For him, just one shot on goal. There was one shot early on from the high slot that rang the post after he retrieved the puck. Still want to see more from him there, and he's getting those matchups against bottom 6 teams and still hasn't been able to capitalize. Number 2 dud for me is Eetu Luostarinen. Yes, he was on the power play unit for the Panthers on PP1, but the fact that he abandoned Leo Carlson, shout out to former Panther Lukas Carlson, but the fact that he abandoned Leo Carlson on that transition opportunity when everyone was committing to the strong side and Leo Carlson was able to convert easily there, that's a product of a forward playing defense, but also not being familiar with that unit, thinking that someone else was there when it was supposed to be him in that spot for the Panthers there. And number 1 dud for me, I'm going to go with an assistant coach, Jamie Compon, the guy who runs the power play for the Florida Panthers. You're telling me for the Panthers to have 3 of those opportunities in the second period and then another opportunity in overtime to get the 4-on-3 for the Panthers. And to think that there was those down low plays from Sam Reinhart to Anton Lundell didn't get the between the legs opportunity, and then Seth Jones. It was a great game by Seth Jones. Oh my goodness, him, Sam Reinhart, Carter Verhaeghe, those guys were just getting the pucks to the net. Seth Jones was activating in the play, setting up Nico Mikkola for one, and to think that for Seth Jones to have a great game, it was just unfortunately wasted from unfortunate planning on the power play, which the Panthers were unable to convert. So Jamie Compon is my 3rd dud of the game for the Panthers here. Your 3 duds, Jacob.
Yeah, I had a couple that I considered. Carter Verhaeghe, the legs were there. He generated a lot. I'm missing. There's just something missing with the finish right now. He's missing the net a ton. When he is hitting the net, he's putting it right in the goalie's chest protector. So I just need him to finish more. But other than that, the legs were there, so he's going to be an honorable mention for me. And another honorable mention is going to be the Petrie-Belinskis pair. Another night, I didn't really like their game too much. They weren't terrible. They're a little out of sorts and have guys having to cover for them. Belinskis has a tendency to have to jump over all the way to Petrie's side because Petrie just doesn't have the foot speed, and they end up getting pinned in their zone a little bit too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
My 3 duds, number 3 is actually Jesper Boquist. Didn't like his game tonight. I thought he lost the puck a few too many times. I thought he didn't really hold his own in board battles as well as we'd like to see. And then a costly penalty in the first period. An offensive zone penalty, takes a trip, being a little too aggressive. The Panthers really were controlling play at that time. Not a big fan of Boquist's game in a game where he had really a lot of should have had a lot of opportunity playing with Sam Bennett and being on that line. You need him to step up when Marchand is out, and I didn't feel like he really took advantage of it. Number 2 dud for me, Sam Bennett again. I won't say the concern is super high right now early in the season. I understand he's playing with a bunch of new line mates. He's bouncing around. His responsibilities are changing almost nightly. But it is telling right now that he has, at least to some extent, lost a little bit of the faith of the coaching staff in certain situations. Evan Rodriguez has been elevated to 1C for the time being. Anton Lundell has been the most consistent and reliable center on the team. And Sam Bennett right now is playing third line minutes. His line mates are changing pretty much every night at the moment. And being pushed down to the third line, he's lining up against other teams' third lines and fourth lines and still not seeing the results. A few turnovers, a bad penalty again, which I didn't really think was a penalty, or if it was, should have definitely been embellishment, and you take them both. But his reputation's not going to help him there. And we need to see more from Sam Bennett. It is telling though that in the 6-on-5 situation with the net empty, Bennett's not on the ice right now. And Etu is getting the looks on power play 1 with no Brad Marchand, and it wasn't Bennett who got elevated. So I feel like coaching staff is maybe trying to see if he can find his game a little bit here. Number 1 dud for me is the entire power play unit. Just can't have what they had tonight. I like the approach early. Lots of shots. They didn't pass it around too much. They took a lot of shots, got the puck to the net. But again, really no finish. And then in overtime, when you end up on a 4-on-3, you have to bury that. That's period, point blank. That's the game right there. And when you know the talent you're missing in the lineup, you don't want to let that game get to a shootout. By any means, you got to score on the power play there at all costs, and they didn't get the job done. So the power play is my number 1 dud.
So the personnel on the Panthers 6-on-5: Reinhart, Mackey, Verhaeghe, Etu Luostarinen, Anton Lundell, Seth Jones. So you're relying on Anton Lundell to win the key draw, although Sam Bennett was 61% from the dot tonight. So those numbers are improving. But look at all the guys who even in when the Panthers are in the offensive zone, who they're relying on. Look at Reinhart, Lundell, and Luostarinen. Not only are they a unit that works well together, but those are guys who win battles. Mackie Semiskevich, who we see can activate with speed and also hasn't been afraid to shoot the puck. There was one moment, I forget which power play it was, where he was trying to set up that down low play to Etu Luostarinen near the blue paint, and he missed it. And also there was a one-timer shot that just got trickled over the glove of Lukas Dostal. And as the Ducks were clearing the zone, you see him slamming his stick in frustration. So that's how you know that the Panthers are in a little bit of a rut when it comes to special teams right now for them trying to get some separation. That really was killer for the Panthers early on. But the moment where I knew the game was lost was the Cutter Gauthier 5-on-3 goal for the Ducks. like I said, I don't agree with the Nico Mikkola interference call. And when you retrieve the puck and also work it back from goal line to the middle, it's going to be tough to recover. And I mean, look at the personnel that the Panthers had there are ones that you trust: Ekblad, Forsling, Anton Lundell, there. But with how fast and how well the Ducks move, I mean, like I said in my preview, this is a team where they are well up and coming, and there's a lot of youthful energy on this roster. And the Panthers had their injuries, but also no Mikael Granlund for the Ducks, no Radko Gudas, neither, no Ryan Strome. So both teams were without personnel. So I'm not using that as an excuse there. So, but the 5-on-3 goal from the Anaheim Ducks, that's the moment where I knew the Panthers lost the game. And I had a little bit of faith when they got into overtime, but I'm looking back at that moment, and as far as the chase of the game, that's where I'm just like, man, backbreaker.
Yeah, no, that was definitely a down moment. For me, I was tempted to say when Sam Bennett took the penalty in the third period, I was tempted to say that, but they proved me wrong by getting into OT. But when they don't score on the power play in overtime, that's when I knew it was lost. I didn't feel like they had much of a chance at all in the shootout. You're missing Barkov, who is arguably the best shootout taker in hockey. I don't even know if that's arguable. He's the best there is. You don't have him. It's your first shootout of the year, so there's not really anything to go on as far as who's having success, who's not. It's the first one, so you're almost hoping and praying to an extent. And then also having Brad Marchand out, he's another guy who with slick hands who's come up big in some shootout moments in his career. So I didn't have a whole lot of faith after they didn't score in overtime, knowing it was going to go to a shootout. And I will say, I very much question the decision to go Evan Rodriguez instead of Mackey.
Yeah.
I think to an extent tonight, coaching was not up to the standard either for the Panthers, and Evan Rodriguez, a career 25% shooter in shootouts. I think you go with a different look, and you give that shot to Mackey. He's been playing really well lately. He had the legs going tonight, had the hands, was your best playmaker, really. I don't understand why Mackey doesn't get a crack in the shootout there, and you go with Evan Rodriguez instead. But Lundell looked good. Baby Barkov in full effect tonight. He's becoming a shootout wizard himself. So
that was smooth, that shootout move. And Mason McTavish pulled a Evgeny Kuznetsov there, if you didn't notice. There, no,
he did, and the Troy Terry and the no shot earlier in the shootout was pretty nasty too. They definitely treated us to some good hands tonight. I'll give them.
Made it look like that he lost the handle of the puck. He's like, nope, I'm going 5-hole. But yeah, I actually did a quick Google AI search. I'm just like, I don't think Mackey has ever had a shootout attempt, and I was right. He's never attempted a shootout goal. But he's still young. He has a whole career ahead of him. So hopefully we will see the very first for Mackey. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where the Panthers got a point. So we are going to discuss whether we are encouraged that they got a point after falling behind or disappointed in getting a point. We'll discuss all that and more next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Segment number 3 here on this Wednesday, October 29th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Armando Velez here with Jacob Winans on another edition of Winans Wednesday, as the Florida Panthers lose to the Anaheim Ducks by a final score of 3-2 in a shootout. So I remember talking to Nick after Thursday's game, thinking, okay, the Panthers controlled play for the final 40 minutes. The Panthers did everything they could have to win a game, but goaltending mistakes was the thing for the Panthers that was very questionable and cost the Panthers even an opportunity to get a point. We were discussing the Panthers and needing to force overtime and in the games that they are falling behind. But here we are. We gotta try to somewhat keep the energy and relay back to a conversation that we had just less than a week ago. So the Panthers falling behind in this one, and then eventually getting a point, which for the Panthers, I looked at the standings a little bit today and a quick glimpse. There's only a 2-point separation going into the night between last place in the Eastern Conference and the second wild card spot. So this can fluctuate day by day, at least in the early parts of the season. We won't really truly see it separation until maybe December. So I want to give you the floor on this one. Are you encouraged by a point, discouraged by it, or disappointed? How are you feeling in this one?
A little bit disappointed and discouraged by only a point tonight, just given what's coming on the Panthers schedule. I don't know. I feel like if you're on a homestand, you're struggling, you drop a game that Pittsburgh really shouldn't have won. It's horrible goaltending in that one that puts you behind. You got to make that up on your homestand somewhere. Beating Vegas was nice, and I feel like that could have been a momentum building win, where you look at that game, you do a lot of things right. Defense was locked down, and you could build off that. And Anaheim, it's a little bit of a trap game. It definitely a trap game. That's a team that's better than most people give them credit for. But like you said, they had a lot of people out tonight too. No Granlund, no Kreider, no Strome, no Gudis. They had some important pieces out. That's a team you have to take advantage of. Coming away with 1 point, it's definitely disappointing. I'm not mad at the effort. I thought the effort was there tonight. I thought they did a really good job battling back. Down 2-0, they definitely could have packed it in. They battled back, especially the defense. I thought the activation from the blue line was there. The forecheck was there. The grind was there. They did the things that you'd like to see them do consistently. But it's a game you have to get 2 points out of, especially when you have Dallas coming to town next. That is a nasty team. That's not a team that's going to be fun to play against with the type of guys the Panthers are missing. And then you're heading out west, and the Panthers past few years have not really looked too great in their West Coast trips. So I thought this was a game that you really needed 2 points out of. Now the pressure's on to not finish below 500 on this homestand, which you really can't afford to have right now. So definitely a level of disappointment there with the result, not necessarily disappointment with the effort. Just it's got to translate somewhere. The results have to start coming.
Yeah, and I like the way you word that. Not disappointed in the effort, because you look at the Panthers, especially in the hits category. Which, if you have a big advantage in hits, it means that you're pinned in your zone quite a bit. And the Panthers, 30-19 in the hits category. That and the fact that the Panthers outshot almost doubled the amount of shots as Anaheim. That means most of those hits came from when they were trying to gain the zone and not even getting a shot on net, and it was just a lot of those one and done. So that's at least there with the system. And the Script Sports, the broadcast for the Panthers, actually posted a little bit of a graphic before the game started, and for the Panthers and in their ranks defensively, shots allowed first, high danger chances allowed first, slot shots allowed first, inner slot shots allowed first. That's actually pretty impressive, knowing that you are also missing Dmitry Kulikov on your back end, which David Dwork of the Hockey News also reported that the Panthers are looking for defense help there. And the fact that the Panthers are number one in those categories and still working their system there, and it's still tight defensively for the Panthers, I'm encouraged by that part. It's just you wish that they got a bounce, a dirty one, a grease one out, because you're looking at not only an extra point, this and not only that, this game could have ended in regulation. And once again, it could have been a 6-5-0 where the Panthers had, and I spoke about it on the preview. All their wins have come in regulation. This could have been one where it could have been another addition to regulation wins, because you see even early on where if the Panthers are tied with certain teams, which I forget who on the top of my head, you see that regulation win category up with the Panthers.
Yeah, definitely. It's a point that you hope we don't look back on at the end of the season like, man, that was a point that they left on the table that they shouldn't have. And as Panther fans, we know how razor thin those margins can be. This entire run of the last few years started by the Panthers making it into the playoffs by a single point.
Yeah.
In a season where, if you look back on certain games, that missed point could have come very easily in a few games that stand out, like the Boston game where Barkov scores last second. There's games where
This game last year.
Yeah, exactly. There are games where that single point means a lot, and you hope this one ends up being insignificant. But it definitely could be something they look back on and regret. But like you said, the first place in a lot of defensive categories that travels.
Yes.
That's a system that is sustainable. It travels. It's systemic. It's not something that necessarily goes away depending on how the offense is playing. So I'm encouraged by that. It's just you don't want to give that up at the expense, or get offense at the expense of that defensive structure and system. So gotta just hope and trust that the offense will come from somewhere. Somebody will step up and they have the guys to do it. Carter Verhaeghe, I assume, will probably start scoring. Sam Bennett will start scoring at some point. People forget last year he had a horrendous stretch in sort of middle of the season, heading into the winter months, where he scored maybe like 1 goal in 20 something games. Had a terrible stretch, and we all know how that turned out for him. He got hot towards the end of the year, tore up the playoffs, got paid. He's capable. He'll be okay. And if they can tread water and find just enough offense to win some of these games until December, January, then you get number 19 back in the lineup, and that can't be overstated. So it's just about finding that one extra goal in games like this. They didn't get it done tonight. They got the opportunities, just got to bury one of them. And this is the exact type of game where just win the special teams battle. If you can just get one on the power play, that makes all the difference. Or if you can just get that kill, or just not give up a shorty. Just have to win the power play battle in tight games like this, where the offense just really isn't falling for you.
No doubt. And and Daniil Tarasov, 4 goals of support in 9 periods. That's not going to cut it for the Panthers. And that's why, once again, goalie wins are not stats. But Money Puck has the Panthers at 5th in expected goals. They have them towards 11th in Corsi for percentage. So they're doing the great things offensively. And after their goal tonight with the Anton Lundell goal, their goal differential at 5-on-5 is at even. So they're doing that part. They're doing a few things right, and it's just really about trying to get some of those goals on special teams to at least help them out, to at least put a little bit less pressure on, and the Panthers will hopefully find the right combos and right personnel together. Like we mentioned, Sam Bennett playing with bottom 6 guys as well. Not only is he getting the matchup, but he's playing with bottom 6 guys, so he's not gonna get those scoring opportunities as much as he would with a Matthew Tkachuk, obviously on his wing. So just got to manage through, as you said, until number 19 comes back. But Jacob, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can follow you online, my friend.
Yep, you can follow me on X at JakeW_8. And yeah, I guess real quick, happy Halloween to everybody out there. That'll be this week coming up, and enjoy the time with your families. Enjoy the holiday as we head into the winter months here soon. So
stay safe, everybody. And
yep,
Jacob, I will see you next Tuesday night, late night, with the Cats next week. See you next week.
Looking forward to it.
And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez with Jacob Winans, and you've been listening to Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.